it's like 1 in the morning. What's up?
Hey Lucas, I had some products and I want to check which were more acidic or basic, but I don't have a pH indicator. What should I do?
Well, I think I got you covered. Today in Lucas's lab, we're gonna make a pH indicator out of red cabbage. So come inside. Hello everyone. I want to step away from the lab for a quick second to break down the ideas of the pH scale and what pH truly is. The pH scale is a number range between 0 to 14 and helps us denote whether a substance is more acidic or basic. If a substance were to be at 7, for example, it would be considered pH neutral. A common example of that would be water, also known as H2O. Anything under 7 would be considered acidic. And anything above 7 would actually be considered basic. A good point to note is that anything under 7 in the acidic range would have a greater concentration of hydrogen ions, also known as H+, versus hydroxide ions, OH-. The opposite would be for the basic component of the scale. It would have a greater concentration of hydroxide ions, OH-, instead of hydrogen ions, H+. Keep these ideas in mind when going into the experiment itself. It may help you going forward. Here are a few needed safety precautions. Allow a parent or adult figure to assist you in the preparing of both the cutting of lemons and the red cabbage. The blender does have sharp components at the base, so carefully place the red cabbage into the blender with care. Do not touch your eyes, mouth, or face area until you have properly washed your hands after the experiment is complete. Keep your work area clear at all times and do not cross-contaminate your materials for the best results. Okay, the time that you've all been waiting for. Experiment time. But first things first, make sure you have adult supervision so that everything can go smoothly. Now, let's talk about the materials. First things first, we're gonna need tape, a Sharpie, lemon, red cabbage, vinegar, baking soda, 4 see-through cups so you can see the substances change color, another container and a strainer to be able to strain the cabbage juice later, a blender, and 2 cups for measurement. So the first part, we're gonna add about 1.5 warm water into the blender. Now, we're gonna add a few of the leaves of red cabbage into the water itself. There's no any perfect way to do this, but just put a good amount. Cover up the top. Make sure it's plugged in, tightened, and we're gonna blend. Okay, so to be able to make a strainer, obviously in most cases you would use a funnel, but for now we're gonna make something a little bit more makeshift. Get a little bit of tape. Tape it, I would say, around 4 of the sides around the strainer itself. You can actually attach the coffee strainer to any cup, vase, or pot that you have at home. I just used this coffee distributor because it was handy at the time. 4th one on the back. Make sure it's a deep enough base. Then we're gonna get the red cabbage blended in warm water and pour very slowly on the top. So, the red cabbage juice is straining. The reason why we're doing this is so that a lot of the bigger pieces of red cabbage doesn't go into the mixture that we're gonna use for later. Okay, as mentioned previously, let's do a little bit of labeling. The first one will be labeled as the control, which is simply the red cabbage and water mixture. This one will be labeled as lemon. The next cup will be labeled as vinegar. And the last cup will be labeled baking soda. Now that we have all 4 cups labeled, let's go ahead and pour the water and red cabbage mixture into each one at even amounts to the best of your ability. Pour for the eventual lemon, for vinegar, the control, and now the baking soda. Now that we have the red cabbage and water mixtures added into each one, we can go ahead and add the products, the baking soda, the vinegar, and the lemon. Okay, now for the final part. Let's go ahead and start with the lemon. Use a half-cut lemon and squeeze into the container. Immediately, you see a color change into a reddish tone. After a little bit of stirring, this actually shows that it is more of an acidic substance. Next, we're gonna go into vinegar. Pour about a teaspoon to teaspoon and a half. Similar to the lemon, you will also see that it's becoming a red substance, which is also indicating of it being an acidic substance, as mentioned earlier. The control will be as such, which is a dark blue to purple tone. And now for the baking soda. Let's go for about a teaspoon to teaspoon and a half of baking soda added into the container. Let's go half a teaspoon. Mix it thoroughly. And you'll actually see that the substance is becoming a greenish blue tone, which shows that it is a basic substance. Lemon was the most acidic substance that we tested today and has a pH of 2 and gives off the lightest color. Vinegar becomes a little bit darker and has a pH of 2.5, which is still acidic. The control remains neutral and has the same purplish tone of the original substance. And the baking soda is the most basic of the substances we tested so far and has a pH of 8 and becomes blue. Now here we are. We were able to create a pH indicator from red cabbage with most of the materials you have at home. I hope you enjoyed it.
Perfect. Thank you, Lucas. Now I can make my own pH indicator.
Of course. This is something you can do with your family, friends, and anyone around. Come back next time to Lucas's Lab for more.